Hi, I'm Katie Couric. Welcome to Eye to Eye. After decades during which the numbers of women in the workforce steadily increased, a new trend's emerging called opting out. Professional women leaving jobs to focus on raising families. But do they have a choice? Kelly Wallace talked to author Pam Stone, who says many working mothers are being shut out of the professional world.
Are women opting out of the workforce?
Well, they're not opting out. They're being shut out. And there is no revolution, by the way, in their opting out. Oftentimes we hear those two phrases coupled, an opt-out revolution. But that's really not what's happening. And when I looked at long-term trends in married women, college-educated with kids, I found that there was relative stability since the 80s as to the proportions who are leaving work to stay at home with their kids.
So how did we get here where this issue of opting out sort of was out circulating, that women, in fact, are opting out in droves, saying, you know what, I want to go home and go back to traditional values and take care of the kids. How did we get here?
Well, there are two ways that we got here. One is these kinds of elite, advantaged, college-educated women have always been the subject of media fascination, and so they tend to dominate the coverage. The other thing is that they tend to be kind of a bellwether group. They're role models for a lot of women. So I think the focus is always kind of disproportionately on this group of women. But the other way we got here is some things that are really happening, real changes that are taking place. And women are caught in a kind of double bind more than ever before. First of all, we have more women in the professions than ever before. 38% of women are working as professionals and managers. So there's that fact. But we have speed up going on both sides of the fence. We have speed up in the home, where anybody who's a mom knows, and it's absolutely true, that there are more and more demands on parents, and most parenting is still done by moms. And then on the other side of the equation, just at the time in which women are really flocking into these high-status professions, we're seeing a huge increase in work hours. So those two trends are obviously working at odds with one another, and women are caught in the middle.
What kind of got you stimulated to really tackle this issue, opting out, myth or reality?
Well, actually, what got me stimulated, because I started this work before some of the high-profile articles came out. I am a sociologist, but I'm also a soccer mom. And what I was finding among the women that I was chatting with on the sidelines as I got to know them better was that many of them had very big careers, and they'd left those careers. And I was interested, as a scholar of women in work, I was interested in why seemingly very work-committed women who had great credentials and had, big work histories and big jobs were deciding to leave it for family. So that was really the question I was very intrigued to learn the answer to. There wasn't any research on the subject, is what I discovered.
You talked to women in, you said, 7 cities across the country. Right. Very educated women, professionals, managers. You can't generalize, but in some way, overall, what did you find from these women about why they left these very high-profile careers for their families?
Well, I will say, given the narrative, the larger media, I really expected that I was going to hear them telling me all about family and all about the pulls of family. But instead what I found, and they of course talked about family, but instead what I found was they were talking a lot about work. And it was the conditions of their jobs that were really forcing them out and forcing them into making a decision I also found that was really a very reluctant one. So these women were not opting out lightly or easily. These were decisions that they turned over sometimes for years. They were very conflicted about and understood the kinds of trade-offs that they were making in deciding to take some time out of the labor force.
Now, there are others out there. Grab your water, yeah. Linda Hirschman, other people, who have written about this. I mean, Linda Hirschman's book, I think, is, Get to Work Manifesto. She believes still that women are, in fact, choosing to leave, that they are, and that they don't realize the consequences, both for their own individual incomes and also the consequences of society in general. What do you say to that?
Right. I think that shortchanges women. I think that when we tell women they're making wrong choices or right choices, we're assuming they have choices. And what I found is that even the very advantaged women that I talked to, highly qualified, had gone to great schools, had relatively limited options at work once they became mothers.